Dealer's choice, hot off the presses after quite proud of Monday's drive around the SEC. If Mel Kiper gave it a draft grade of A+, he gave Monday's Love Chevy drive around the SEC an A+. This one, I don't know. We're striving for a B. It's hard to repeat. But dealer's choice, football, basketball, baseball. Where do you want to venture to first?
Let's go with basketball.
I was going to say the same. Let's talk some basketball.
Hey, okay, I feel you.
Yeah.
By the way, spoke to a very, let's just say, prominent Gamecock source yesterday. They certainly wanted the kid from LaSalle. Last second, some things came down. He clearly preferred the science department. No. It came down what you probably think it came down to. But they are still very much in the market for a point guard. If they can just hit on that, they'll feel very good about A, the recruiting class, B, the portal class, C, what they've got coming back. They've got to get a point guard. I've heard people say, well, what about it? No. There's guys on the roster that are capable of playing point guard. That's not the answer. They got to get a point guard in the portal. They know it. It's going to happen. And I'm sure JC and the Big Spur will be the first people to tell you about who that is when it happens. Speaking of the portal, there's something going on here right now I find fascinating. So Tennessee's Jonas Adu, he's their big 6'11" rim protector, kind of a one-trick pony. He's not a big offensive weapon, but 6'11" and quick twitch jumper. We all want one of those. They're kind of nice to have. They look good coming off the bus. They feel good when they're in the paint. He is leaving to go to Arkansas. Cal is doing the same thing he did at Kentucky. I mean, he's taking all his 5-star recruits with him. I mean, Kentucky's basically got a barren roster. They're doing what they can. But he's going to Arkansas. Big Z's going to Arkansas. Boogie Flan, Carter Cox, Billy Richmond, all going to Arkansas. All of whom were lined up to go to Kentucky, and they do, of course, could have stayed at Tennessee with Rick Barnes. So he's going to have another stacked roster. But at the end of the day, I know what Kentucky fans are saying. Kentucky fans are saying, okay, we've seen that movie before. We've seen us sit at home for the last 5 years during the Sweet 16. Let's see what this Mark Pope is going to do. Is Mark Pope winning every 5-star battle? Is he beating everybody in the portal? No. He's just cleverly taking experienced players in the portal and trying to get camaraderie and get a team that can win. And unlike in some of the other sports, in basketball, it's not just who's got the most NIL money, who's got the most 5-star. That's football. That's football. That's why you see the same teams competing for the title every year in football. That is not basketball. UConn probably, I would guess, was not even top 20 in NIL money. And they certainly were not leading the way in McDonald's All-Americans. I think they had 2 tops. But more than one way to skin a cat in basketball. Speaking of SEC on SEC crime, Auburn's Aiden Holloway, former 5-star guard, he's now going to Alabama, Nate Oates. So he plucked him, going 2 hours to the Plains. He only averaged 7 points, 2.7 assists. He didn't seem to fit into what Auburn was doing. So Auburn is doing quite well in the portal as well. So that might be one of those best for all parties involved. Let's go to football for a second. Couple of just tidbits on, first off, the draft. I thought this was interesting. Okay, here are the best undrafted SEC players by position. Running back, Kendall Milton of Georgia and Cody Schrader of Mizzou. Dude who led the SEC in rushing went completely undrafted. The top undrafted SEC quarterback, Spencer Sanders of Ole Miss. We barely saw the field, which makes you wonder why he went there in the first place when you know you weren't going to see the field. How about this one? Top undrafted tight end from the SEC? Trey Knox.
Yeah.
Trey Knox thought he might sneak in the 7th round. He has been signed by the Vikings. And the top wide receiver, undrafted from an SEC school, LaDetrick Griffin, Mississippi State. He is signed on with the Raiders.
Everybody Columbia knows about him. They call him Tulu.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he destroyed South Carolina this year.
Yeah, he absolutely went. That was, I probably just showed that on a loop to to all the scouts to try and get drafted, but it didn't work. So this was an interesting, I don't even know where I found this, just scouring the internet. I'm fascinated, and I talked about this on Monday, that Carolina could go 14 years. How about 24 years? Wait, let me make sure I got the math right on this. 1990.
Here. Hold on. It'd be
34 years.
Sorry, Todd Ellis must be the topic here.
Yes. 34 years without a quarterback being drafted. That to me is beyond amazing. I don't know if you'll ever see an SEC program not named Vanderbilt go 34 years again without a quarterback being drafted. And as we talked about, that draft pick was a 9th rounder in a 7th round draft that we now have. So it got me to thinking, like, what are some of the other stunning kind of draft tidbits regarding other SEC programs? How about this? Lane Kiffin, for all that he has done, hasn't produced a first-round pick as a head coach since 2012. That deserves a wow.
Wow. In any position.
Any position.
Wow.
I am not.
That is a wow.
Since 2012?
2012. That surprised me as well. And that includes multiple stops. It includes, FAU, includes Southern Cal. Now,
who was the last one? Who was it?
That I don't have. That would entail some more research.
We need to get the research department on the phone.
We do. Let's use our gaggle of interns here on ITG to look that up. I will tell you that streak is probably coming to an end. Ole Miss should have a first rounder or maybe multiple in this coming draft. Trey Harris, Walter Nolan, Jackson Dart could sneak in depending on he performs. And yes, there are some people that think an injury-free Juice Wells could play his way into the first round. How about this for another wow? The mighty Georgia Bulldogs. It's been 15 years since Georgia had a quarterback drafted in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, his name was Matthew Stafford.
Matthew Stafford. And it's going to be Carson Beck next year, but 15 years for Georgia? Come on, man. How
many? Georgia's not really known for quarterbacks, Stafford was kind of the first one. David Green was not a draft pick. Aaron Murray was a later pick.
Right.
Hudson Mason was not drafted. DJ Shockley was not drafted. I think maybe 7th. Maybe he was.
There's some 4 and 5 stars in the crop of Rick and Kirby.
Eric Zier. How high was Eric Zier? I think
Zier was undersized.
Round.
I think he was first off, Zier was before Stafford. So what?
The point of it is historically Georgia, because they've been such a ground-based team, they have not always had. Fran Tarkenton played there, obviously, but they haven't always been like the quarterback producing school you'd think,
right?
Just because they've always had it. Now flip it to tailback.
That's a whole other story. Yeah, that's a whole other story.
Or linebacker.
But they have had some highly touted quarterbacks that, for whatever reason, just did not pan out. Some have transferred and some have whatever. But Matthew Stafford, the last one to go in the first 3 rounds, 15 years ago. Mississippi State. All right, here's a trivia question. Mississippi State has not had a blank position drafted at all since 1996.
Drafted at all?
At all. 7 rounds. Since 1996. So what are we talking, 30 years? I thought this was amazing.
I'm going to say receiver.
Wide receiver? Yeah.
Tight end.
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
JC and the Mad Dog coming to a theater near you. Yes. They haven't had a wide out. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, they just haven't been that good at that position.
Who's really been...
they had Dak Prescott, for crying out loud, throwing the ball for 3 years and not much catching it.
No.
So
did Ra Thomas is Ra Thomas coming back to Georgia next year?
He is coming back.
He's coming back. So
yes.
he was there. Yeah, you guys know he was once committed to South Carolina. Bobby Bentley had him committed. Nobody knew about him. I did not know that. Then during the transition from Muschamp to Beamer, he decommitted in Mississippi State.
That deserves a wow or a raw in that particular case.
Well, Jair Alexander was once.
Nice work, Mike.
Thank you.
Very well done.
Thank you for that. One last one. Texas A&M. They haven't had a first-round defensive player for all the money that they spent and all the 5-star kids that they get on the defensive side of the ball. They haven't had a first-rounder since 2017 when Myles Garrett was the guy. It seems impossible when you think of all the talent that Mike Elko alone brought in during his 4 years as the DC. But they hadn't done it. The odds are already out for the 2025 draft on who's going to be the number one overall pick. It's gone back and forth, but FanDuel now has co-favorites that are all plus 500 odds. 2 of those are from the SEC. Quinn Ewers of Texas, Carson Beck of Georgia, and yes, Mr. Merch at half, Shedeur Sanders, all plus 500 if you want to bet on such a thing.
Oh, man.
Who was the last? Maybe it was sooner than I think. Who's the last number one overall pick to be drafted from a team with a losing record?
Ooh, that's a great question.
It was taken number one.
Yeah.
From a losing team, man. I would get. It'd have to be a lineman, right? It wouldn't be a quarterback.
Well, wait. Does this hit close to home?
Well, like real close.
Yeah.
Are you saying
not clown because it was Georgia? Rogers was.
You're talking about George? Yeah, but they were pretty good.
Big George's 8-4, and then
Clowney they had a winning record.
We'll have to look at it because Caleb, Bryce, Von Walker.
I think you got to go back a ways.
Yeah, there's nobody. Well, how good was California when Jared Goff went?
Winning record. I don't know if they were great, but winning record.
How good was Central Michigan when Eric Fisher went in 2013?
Well, they were in the MAC, so I'd like to think they had a winning record with the number one, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's
one we need to look at.
Who was the coach? That was just right after Champions of Life left. So
yeah, that's right.
2013. So they were on that Brian Kelly, Butch Jones train at that point. So I think Dan Enos Enos was at Western, never mind. So you'd have to go back a ways. Goff, Winston, Clowney, Cam Newton. I mean, all these guys were like national championship or better.
Yeah.
Jake Long at Michigan. Mario Williams at NC State. How were the 2005 North Carolina State Wolfpacks?
I can't remember. That would have been what? Mike O'Kane? Who was the coach back then? Oh, no, that was Chuck Amato, wasn't it? Yeah, Chucky Shades.
Ooh. Central Michigan was 6-6 in 2013.
Okay. Well,
we're getting close.
Losing record, but
Mario, NC State was 7-5. David Carr, Fresno was good. Courtney Brown, Penn State. Tim Couch's Kentucky team in '98 was 7-5.
Close.
Okay. We have gone down a dark rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Bledsoe, Washington State was a winner.
Yeah.
Jeff George at Illinois.
Steve Entman at Washington.
Oh, Entman was part of that. You had 2 Washington Huskies go back to back.
Yeah,
you had Entman and who's the other guy? Oh God, that's gonna kill me.
Well, you had
pass rush guy. Back to back, they went in the draft.
Oh, in that draft.
Yeah. His teammate.
I don't know.
Now we're going down multiple rabbit holes. Quentin Corriette. Mm-hmm. I think one of Entman went to the Colts, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember where Corriette went.
They both actually wound up.
They both went to the Colts. Okay. Yeah. There you go. That didn't work out so well.
No.
That didn't work out so. By the way, if Eric Hyman had hired Butch Jones, would that be a Champions of Life war chest of credibility hire?
Wow.
Discuss amongst yourselves.
Man.
Some other
turn that into an acronym.
It's a very long one. I thought this was interesting. This is right in your wheelhouse, JC. So we talk about the devaluing of the running back, right? Like it's other than Bijan Robinson, who I still question taking him in the top 10. Question much of what the Falcons do as an organization. But running backs have been devalued. They're devalued in recruiting. They're devalued in the NFL draft because there's just so many of them. You can find a guy that can tote the rock and be productive. The fact that Carolina didn't have a level, we don't need to go back down that road. You got Rocket Sanders, no biggie. He's going to be an NFL draft pick next year. But in the 2020, so a 5-year sample size here, there have been more running backs drafted in the first round, 5, than what other position that has been really devalued in the eyes of scouts? Take a guess.
Linebacker, offensive guard.
Both good guesses. It's not where we're going now.
Safety. God, why did I think safety?
Oh, yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good pick.
Safety has been, again, not because it's an important position, but there's just a lot of dudes.
Well, the safeties are, and you use them in so many different ways. And if you have great safeties that can cover, they're very valuable.
Well, we now call those nickelbacks, right?
Yeah. You don't, you
or
kind
hybrids.
of or you'll move a corner, or you move a corner to safety or something.
Right.
When they draft him as a whatever, but
the old day and age where everybody was running like 21 personnel and you had 2 wides and you had your 2 corners and your strong safety and your free safety, that ain't football anymore. Yeah. That's not the way it looks anymore. You can't have a big, bulking, strong safety that can't cover anybody, because you're going to see a lot of 4 wide, 5 wide look. All right, that's beyond.
I've gone all the way back to the 1960 and can't find a guy that was on a losing team that was the number 1 pick.
JC, I've been doing the same thing while we're doing this, but you know what? We might have. I don't know if you've made the same mistake that I have. I just realized I made a mistake. I was looking at the year of the draft. You got to look at the year before of the draft. Were you looking at the year of the draft?
No, the year before. So in other words, the 1950 draft would have been the 49 season.
Yeah, because I just realized I was boogering that up. Okay,
I did it the right way. Hey, I guess I just got a text from one of our friends, Mike. I think you're on the text. It says, I'm not going to mention his name. I don't think he's a fan of the Shedeur Sanders draft drama that's going to take place.
Yeah.
I mean, neither, dude. I see his name up there, and I'm like, God, I'm not sad for the kid because he wasn't a very highly rated guy. I mean, he wasn't a huge recruiter or anything. He was Deion's son. Man, there's going to be a lot of drama between now and then.
They just had a 5-star kid bolt Colorado, and he's like tearful talking about it. And Shedeur puts out on Twitter, "Yeah, man, I don't even remember him. He's so mid anyway." Like, okay, way to take your favorite team.
I mean, I hate to be the guy that acts like he knew it all along, but not that I can predict the exact moments. I don't mean it like that. But anybody really think that stuff like this wasn't going to happen when they hired Deion Sanders? Like, I like Deion Sanders. Don't get me wrong. I'm actually a fan of a lot of the things that he preaches and how he carries himself about certain. Like, I don't have a problem with him. I buy his sunglasses, the blenders. I love them. I've bought 3 pairs. They're fantastic. But like, did anybody really game? Yeah. Like, did anybody really think that this was going to be a just a quiet hire and drama free? Nothing was going to in today's world. Like,
my problem with it's not real. It's fake. He's a helicopter parent. He's just like Bob, the plumber that coaches his kids' little league team. He's the same guy.
Yeah,
it's all about his kids. That's it. I mean, he doesn't know half his roster.
Or him.
I mean, if
he
were really that tough, I would. Look, I drank the Kool-Aid last year. I'll admit. But when he fired Sean Lewis, I was like, "You're an idiot."
Well, it became fashionable and somewhat virtuous to say, "I love Deion. I think he's fantastic," and all that good stuff. And when he beat a bad TCU team in week 1, he did the biggest victory lap a coach has ever done after a win in week 1. And then they probably went 4-8 and all kinds of this, that, and the other. I think the slurp fest will be diminished a bit this year. Again, I'm on record. I hope he keeps coaching in college. I just like the story. I don't care if he wins or loses.
Yeah.
See, I don't buy into the well, you got to either love Deion or you're a hater. No, I spend my hate on much more important things than Deion Sanders, and I don't love him because why am I supposed to love him? Why do I love any coach? What do I love about what Deion Sanders is or has done? I've been watching Deion Sanders since he was a player at Florida State. I know who he is. I know what he's all about. He's the same guy. It's the same guy. One other quick football fact before I just wrap up with baseball. Technically speaking, the Pac-12 network is still a thing. They're on the clock. They got another month. Okay. Do you know that most of the remaining Pac-12 teams had their spring football game on the Pac-12 network?
No, we wouldn't have known that, Mike, because we
well,
don't know where to find the Pac-12.
Because you can't get it.
This is
Kinda
part
like
of
the
the reason
Braves
that.
yeah, exactly. I mean, this is like, your girlfriend leaves you for another guy, but you already had tickets to a show, and she says, "Look, we bought these tickets together. Yes, I'm in love with Brad now, but why don't you come with us? There's room for a third." Yeah.
Come on, let's go.
Brad's a nice guy. You're gonna
Brad's
like
a nice guy. We're all cool. He doesn't dislike you, and in fact, he says you're a heck of a guy. But I'm sleeping with him now. I hope you don't mind that. But let's enjoy. Let's enjoy. What's the big show? Let's enjoy the show in Lincoln, not Lincoln. It's a big play in Broadway, in New York. Hamilton.
Oh, Hamilton.
Let's go see Hamilton anyway. Oh, okay, let's do that. So that's what the Pac-12 network, they're airing, like, here's Colorado's spring game, here's Arizona State's spring game, here's Washington's spring game.
My goodness gracious.
Well, there must have, Mike. It must have been tied into marketing dollars, right? That they had pre-sold.
I have no idea. I'm probably.
Well, it's not going very far with just the Beavers and Cougs.
I mean,
spring games.
The contractor might have already said you're obligated to run this many spring. Like, networks don't make money on spring football games, but you're obligated.
They're still playing baseball out there too. So I mean, So they still got programming. So I would guess
it's still on.
This is they're like, hell, let's just do it. Why not? Because we need.
Why
not?
Wrapping things up here on the baseball slate this weekend, you got some good matchups. Vandy at Georgia, top 20 matchup. The matchup, top 10, Arkansas at Kentucky. That's going to be a statement series to find out just how legit Kentucky is. Number 3, Tennessee at Florida. Number 23, Alabama. At number 16, Mississippi State. Ole Miss travels to Plainsman Park in Auburn. I mentioned Auburn struggling 3-18 in conference. They were in Omaha 5 years ago. A&M at LSU. LSU 7-14 in SEC play. That's the defending national champions. Top 20 matchup. Vandy. I already mentioned that one. Vandy at Georgia. The one I'm missing, of course, is Carolina at Missouri. Carolina 11-10. Mizzou at 6-15, 20-26 overall. And that is the award-winning, the Grammy, Emmy, Peabody nominated Love Chevy Drive Around the SEC. Maestro, take it away.
Brought to you by Love Chevy, where the inventory is overflowing and the deals are in full bloom. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.